So dear friends, I would like to invite all of us to find a comfortable position. Just like Sister Dedication shared last night, whatever you're using for sitting meditations, to find that peace and happiness and that joy in your own body. And to have your body upright. It doesn't have to be rigid. And just allow your shoulders to drop. Sometimes we think that having our body upright or back straight, and then you square your shoulders. And not square your shoulders, just allow it to drop. And rest your hands either on your knees or in your lap. And just feel the relaxation of your body while we listen to 3 sounds of the bell. Dear respected Thai, dear brothers and sisters and dear friends, today is March 28 in the year 2019, and we are in the Ocean of Peace Meditation Hall during our wake-up retreat. A couple of weeks ago, the organizing team for the wake-up retreat had approached me and asked if I can offer a Dharma talk for the retreat. And I humbly said, whatever the organizing team sees fit, then I will do. I won't complain about it. You just put me anywhere and I'll sit there. And I accepted the invitation and I asked, what is the theme of the retreat? And they said, the theme is stop waiting, start living. And I was like, okay, that's something I can start off with, like stop waiting and start living. And the first thing that came to my mind was my childhood Bible. Not actually a Bible, but I have my favorite book here. And the one thing that got to me was Dr. Seuss. And the one story that says, the one book that says, oh, the places you'll go. Oh, the places you go. Because there's this whole part that says, the waiting place. So I'm going to start off with the reading of this book. Not the whole book. This is a collection of all of Dr. Seuss's books. But I would like to read the story of, oh, the places you'll go. Because for me, it was also an inspiration. As a child, you read it, it's just funny in rhymes. And all the weird names and things like that. But then as I grew up in the monastery and I reread it again, borrowing my niece's book, it made me reflect a little bit more as a mature adult at that time. So I'm going to offer this book. It's very short. Hopefully it won't take too long for all of us to hear. Story time. Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the guy who will decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look them over with care. About some you'll say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not-so-good street. And you may not find any you will want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's opener there in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen, and frequently do, to people as brainy and footsy as you. When things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew. Just go right along, you'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up, you'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar the high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass through the whole game and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you're the best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on. You'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right? Or right and 3/4? Or maybe not quite? Or go back around and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you will find, for a mind maker upper to make up his mind. You'll get so confused that you'll start to race down long wiggled rows at break-necking pace, and grind on for miles across weirdish, wildest space, headed, I fear, towards a most useless place, the waiting place. For people just waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or a mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or waiting around for a yes or no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for the wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape all that waiting and staying. You'll find the bright places where the boom bands are playing. With banners flip-flapping, once more you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky, ready because you're that kind of guy. Oh, the places you go, there's fun to be done, there's points to be scored, and there's games to be won. And on magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame. You'll be famous as famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you win on TV. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too, games you can't win because you'll play against you. All alone, whether you like it or not. Alone will be something, you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But on you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go through your enemy's prowl. On you will go through the hack and cracks howl. Onward up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far and face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with great care and tact. And remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kids, you'll move mountains. So, be your name, be Boxbum, or Bixby, or Bray, or Mordecai Van Allen O'Shea. You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. From the great Dr. Seuss. And I think that's enough for today's Dharma talk. This is a very big inspiration sometimes when I read as an adult now, because unslumping yourself is not easily done. But one of the things that caught me most clearly in the beginning, he said, we have brains in our heads and shoes in our feet. We are all very intelligent people. We have everything. We have all the conditions to be as brainy and as footsie and in charge of our life, and to steer in whatever direction that we have. And sometimes we forget. And it's okay to forget. One of the practices that I like to do, and I would like to tell a story, is about 10 years ago, I was organizing a trip for our teacher in Italy. And like any retreat organization, there's a lot that happens before, during, and even after. It was the arrival day, just like yesterday, and our teacher called me into his room, and he said, Sister Kinh Nghiem, I would like you to help me with making some business cards. I'm like, what kind of business card does a Zen master need? And I would like you to make a business card for everyone at the retreat. And it was 800. So I couldn't just go to Office Depot and print it off on my computer, on the printer. And so I had to find a place that is open. And being in Europe, they have a very healthy lifestyle. So at any time after noon, they're closed from 12 to 2:30. And then they close again at 5. And that's it. So they don't have 24-hour shops or Kinko's or Office Depot like we do. And so we had to really get it in on time because I was straining because everybody's coming and I have this big project for me and I don't have so much time. So I had to design a business card for him. And he just said, the only thing I want on this card is 100%. The number 100%. So there's no name, there's no address, there's no email address, to locate somebody. It's not about finding or sharing information. It's about just 100%. So I do have the original business card. And this is what it is. So I had to pass out this business card to everyone. And if I don't know if you can see, but right in the lower corner here, there's a seal. And it wasn't there when I printed it. And I had 900 business cards made. And our teacher said, Sister Kinh Nghiem, I would like you to put my seal on it. I cannot take his seal out of the room. So in his presence, he's a Zen master. It's scary, and very intimidating, because you have someone keeping an eye on you all the time. And so I had the stack of business cards, and he's sitting in front of me, enjoying his tea and watching me stamp every single business card. And I was sweating. But he was watching, and he's saying, oh, that's not straight. Because there's no measurement. So then you get this feeling that, okay, I really have to get, line it up somehow to make the seal perfect. And every time I put my hand on the seal, and I press down on it to make sure that he's watching me. I know he's watching me, and he can hear it every single moment. So it was a whole practice of 100%, putting 100% on the 100%. And then after that completed, he said, Sister Kinh Nghiem, tomorrow is the day when all of the brothers and sisters go out on their sightseeing trip. So usually when we go on a retreat, we create space and time for the brothers and sisters to enjoy, especially for those who have not been to Italy before, just to see the sights. If you're in Italy, why not? To see the ancient city of Rome and all of that. And so Tai said, anybody who is going is fine, but this is their bus ticket. So on the conditions that they have to have their ticket with them. So I had to pass out anyone who gets onto the bus. I wasn't planning to go because I've been to Italy so many times, and it doesn't change. It didn't change a couple 100,000 years ago, so it's probably the same now, 2 years later. And so what happened is that Tai said, Sister Kinh Nghiem, I would like for you to come and to make sure that everybody has their bus ticket when they arrive, when they get onto the bus, when they board the bus. And you need to give an explanation on their ticket. If they lose it, they get left behind. So what happens is I pass on in the bus as the brothers and sisters are boarding the bus, and I said, this is your bus ticket. Hold on to it. Don't lose it. And before the bus actually takes off, I'm in the front like a tourist guide, in the front. And I said, okay, so everybody has their ticket. I want to see your ticket. And the explanation Tai had said was that when we are out in the city, we see all the sights and we get excited, but he wants us to practice 100%. It's a practice of 100%. And this means walking, no talking. So this 100% business card is basically a reminder for all of us to practice walking and no talking. Because, he said, if we are walking and talking at the same time, how mindful are we when we are walking? What is the percent of awareness do you have invested in your footsteps? And what is the percent of awareness that you have invested in your conversation or the words that you choose? And what is the investment, what's the percentage of investment that you have with the person you are speaking to? So Tai said, walking and no talking. So when you sit down and you can have a conversation and you can see things, and it's a practice for us to being truly present. So when we have a chance, sort of like you switch robes, or you switch, because the only wardrobe I have is a robe, so then you change robes, you change jackets, or you change your shirt. So from one moment, you're 100% walking, and if you see something that catches your eye, your attention, you would like to point it out to a brother and or sister, you can stop and say, brother, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that amazing? And you can stop at that moment and be truly present for whatever that you are seeing. And then come back when you're ready to continue walking silently. Sort of switching from one mode to airplane mode, to silent mode, to vibration mode, and being aware of all of that, being 100% in what you were doing. So the encouragement was that when you see a brother and or sister walking and talking, you don't want to be the police. Nobody wants to police anybody, because it comes around and bites you back. But all you have to do is to take out your business card, smile. Because when we remind somebody of their practice, we're like, hey, you're doing it wrong. Because it's a practice also for us, because it's the support of a whole group. So all you have to do is take out your business card, and then Thai's seal, our teacher, is right there. You see his name, and just smile. And that says enough, yeah? And so in the beginning, it was almost like a joke. And because I was going on behalf of our teacher, I had to pull out my business card a lot, and it's a bit worn down. And sometimes the brothers and the sisters would then pull out their card and smile also. So we're reminding each other. And there was one particular brother who was reminded quite often. And when he took out his business card, he covered this 10. And he gave the exception, I'm just going to do 10%. But then in the beginning, it was just a simple reminder and it was a joke. But it changed the energy of the practice of the community while we were in the city. It gave us so much more of an essence of being truly there. Because, when we're on vacation, when we go on a road trip, or, you take a staycation and you do so many things. In San Diego, there's a lot of things to do, hiking, and you try to get so many things done. I want to do this. I want to climb up this mountain. I'm going to go take this hike at Torrey Pines, all of that. And by the end of the day, you're completely exhausted. Because you try to do so many things, and it's supposed to be a vacation or a staycation. And during that trip, surprisingly, I didn't want to go because, of course, we have to get on the bus, we have to travel, we have to walk, and it's a lot of stimulation, outside stimulation for someone who's not used to having so many external stimulation. And so one of the things that I found that was very helpful was walking 100%. Because that was my chance of meditation. That was my chance to shut down all of that stimulation outside and to really focus on that inside. So I'm not running towards the whole other buses of tourists, taking pictures and seeing the sights and trying that, but I'm really taking everything in because internally, physically, and mentally, I have that space to receive everything by simply walking and not talking. And it's a practice that I would like to invite all of us here to do during our retreat, to really put an investment on, you put money in savings, but this is also a time and investment of your happiness, your happiness, and being truly alive in just simply what is the percent of your footstep that you're investing in. How much of that footstep is going into your savings account, your account that would be the source of happiness and source of joy. So walking meditation is not simply just walking and getting from one place to another, not just being aware of walking. And yeah, you can be aware that you have your footstep, you're walking on the concrete, and then you're moving onto the earth or to the dirt road and all of that, but your mind is still wandering. You're still thinking about something. You're still talking to someone. Earlier I heard a conversations about Coachella, Burning Man, while walking up a hill. Not that I know what they are. I do. But then that conversation, you're here. You're here at the monastery, and you're thinking about a music festival in the desert that's happening later on in the summer. So that conversation that you have takes you out of the moment that you can live 100%. One day I'll get to Coachella. I don't know. not a place for me. I don't think it is. But just to know that you have this moment, you have this opportunity right here and right now to live 100%. And this training that we have, walking slowly, is to really invest our time into being truly present. Because oftentimes we are lost in our thoughts. And it's not bad to think about the future. And it's not bad, we think about our future all the time. And sometimes because we think about our future, we get a bit worried, and we have a little bit of anxiety, and there's a lot of fear. In the Buddha's teaching, the future is made of the present moment. So if you fill yourself with fear and anxiety now, then your future sort of goes along that same path. If you have an investment, start early. When they start about retirement, start saving young. Kind of difficult, but yes, start saving young. So you can also do this investment on starting the investment in your happiness right here at this moment. Because if you can be happy now, you know how to be happy now because you're as brainy and as footsie as any guy can be, then you can know that in the future, whether it's 10 steps from now, whether it's an hour from now, you still have the capacity to generate that happiness, to generate that being truly present, and to having that trust. So walking meditation is one of my favorite practices because it gets me out of my head. It gets me out of my head. Because sometimes sitting meditation is so calming and so relaxing. The first thing that happens is I fall asleep. How many of you fell asleep this morning after waking up? Yeah. It's okay. It took me a long time to stay awake during sitting meditation. And or I get lost in my thoughts. Because sometimes I think I'm following my breathing, or with the guided meditation this morning. And then I start to judge my breathing. Then I start to criticize my breathing. Then I start to say, am I doing this right? And then I said, I'm just going to give up. So then there's this whole cycle that happens that sitting meditation does to me as a young practitioner. It's not that bad now, but I see this happening all the time because there's something inside of me that still hasn't yet settled in. So my preference, my choice of practice is walking meditation because I'm physically moving. There's something outside of my mind that is moving. So I can bring this awareness, all of that thought, into this physical body. Instead of having all the thoughts here, I'm just going to invest all the thoughts into my footsteps. Just feeling the step of my foot, the heel, the sole of my foot, the ball of my foot, and my toes. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to walk completely slow, but just that sensation for that moment of feeling my footsteps on the earth. I think the second part of this subtitle, this is the earth under our feet. Really feeling that. There's a story during the Buddha's time of a very famous man, and later on he became a monk. And this man's name was Angulimala. And in this story, he was famous before he became a monk because he was known as, you would say, a mass murderer. He had a grudge, full of hatred, full of anger. And it was known all across that region is that what he would do, that he would kill people and take their finger, one finger from each person he killed, strand them together to make a necklace and wear it around his neck to adorn himself. And that created a lot of fear in the community, a lot of fear. So everybody was in their house, not going out into the woods. And they had also advised the Buddha, don't go out. There's this man who who has this anger, and this is what he's doing. And he already has 99 fingers, meaning he had killed 99 people. But the Buddha continued to do what he would normally do. He would go out every morning for an alms round and then take a walk in the woods. And it just happened to be that Angulimala saw the Buddha. You know, of course, with this big bad guy with his machete. I don't think they had any knives or machete ready to chop. And he saw the Buddha from afar and he said, "Hey you, stop!" And the Buddha continued to walk. And Angulimala ran up to him and said, "I told you to stop. How come you are not listening to me? You are the 100th person that I'm going to kill today." The Buddha turned around and said, "I have already stopped. It is you that is running." And he looked at him like, "No, you were the one walking away. I told you to stop." And he said, "No, my mind has stopped a long time ago. It's no longer running on anger and fear and hatred. It is you that needs to stop." And so sometimes, you know, the Buddha says, "I'm not running, you are." Like the pun says, "I'm not crying, you are." I don't know what, you know. But, you know, I'm not running, you are. And this running is not a physical running on the outside. And the theme of retreat is not the stop waiting. It's not the waiting that you're just sitting there waiting for your significant other to text you in return, or somebody to comment on your photo, or to like your photo. It's not that kind of just waiting. It's not that kind of running, but it's running after things. You may be sitting perfectly still, but your mind is running after so many things. And the Buddha said, we need to stop. I am walking physically. My physical body is moving, but I am perfectly still. Not being carried away by my anger, not being carried away by my fear, my anxiety, my hatred, or my vengeance. All of that I have stopped a long time ago. So going places or not going places, like in the book of Dr. Seuss, going places or not going places, is not about a physical time. It's not about a physical space. It's about being truly present with yourself. Because Dr. Seuss says there are times when you play games by yourself when you can't win because you play against you. How many of us have had that struggle with yourself? But we are brainy. We are footsies. You know? Our shoes are full of feet. Are they? When you're walking, are your shoes full of feet? Or are your shoes full of thoughts? Meaningless thoughts. So Dr. Seuss is basically saying, you guys got to practice walking meditation. Yeah. You've got to be smart. You know, practice walking meditation. Because you continue on, you're walking on. There are categories of feelings that we have. And we know of two types of feelings. There are positive feelings, pleasant feelings, and there are unpleasant feelings or negative feelings. And we jump from one extreme to the next all the time, something that you like and something that you don't like. And there's also this shady area. I like to call it the shady area, or the neutral area, called neutral feelings. And I was teaching this to some children a couple of years back, and I said, you know, this is like the meh emoji. Meh. Yeah. It's not happy, not sad. It's just meh. You can put this in the video and just put the meh emoji right there. So it's this meh emoji, this feeling of non-excitement, but it's not necessarily bad, it's not necessarily good, it's not necessarily pleasant, it's just, yeah. And I find that this is where we fall into the waiting place, as Dr. Seuss has said. This waiting place. You're waiting for a fish to bite, or waiting for your hair to grow. You're waiting, just waiting. Waiting for the wind to fly your kite. And I find that, sometimes it's the everyday things that we do that sometimes we're mostly probably in the mess situation more than we are in the happy situation or in the sad situation. In everything that we do. There's this new movie or book or TV series of Marie Kondo. What sparks joy? What doesn't spark joy, throw it out. Right? And what happens if you have this meh thing? Do you throw it out? Do you keep it? What happens? So if it doesn't spark joy, throw it out. So you just can't throw out walking, eating, sitting, because you do that every single day. It's essential to your life, to your sustainability. You have to eat, you have to drink, you have to sleep. If sleep doesn't bring you so much joy, I don't know what does. I'm sure most of you are probably sleep deprived now, and you're happy that your exams, midterms are over or coming, and sleep. How can you just throw that away? Or how can you just throw eating away? So our practice here is not to find something outside. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to do anything, but just to change your perspective on what you all are already doing. And this is where mindfulness comes into play. You can be eating. We have great food here, I guess. We have good food here, you have good company, and you could be eating. And your level of enjoyment of that food is not up to highest speed because you're already caught in your worries and your thoughts, and I wonder when they're going to invite the second bell because I want to get some more food. And all of that is happening. You can't really enjoy it. Or you're just eating and eating quietly because everybody else is eating quietly. Or walking, it's the same. So in this whole neutral area, with this awareness, if you just add a little bit of awareness, like, so wonderful to have a plate full of food. It's so wonderful to be able to chew my food. How many of you have dentures? Right. Nobody has dentures in this room. Yeah. To be able to chew your food is the greatest happiness. Ask your grandma and grandpa. And yet, sometimes we don't see that as a happiness or a condition to be happy. Because we're thinking happiness is something outside of you. Happiness is if I have this. Happiness is other than eating, other than drinking. So our practice of being here, and it may seem so easy and so simple. We're going to eat slow. We're not going to say anything. Sister Kinh Nghiem says, walk 100%, no talking. It's boring. There's no joy in it. It's because our perspective on it is wrong. Our perception on how we receive. You know that you have a mouth full of teeth. It's the greatest happiness. If you don't have to put on contacts or eyeglasses every single day to see the blue sky, it's the greatest happiness. You have hands to hold your knife and fork. You have feet in your shoes. It's the greatest happiness on the most simplest things. So you don't have to look for things on the outside. You already have it. Just change your perception of it. Oh, this body. Oh, it's this. I have to eat to make sure this body doesn't pass out halfway. Come on. This body makes me go around, and I can sit and bathe in the sun. Changing how you view things. And oftentimes, I don't want to use wrong perception. Because sometimes we have certain perceptions and we say that it's the right perception. And then sometimes with the perception we are unhappy. And there's this idea there's a wrong perception. There's a wrong perception about something. And you are unhappy, so then there must be a right perception. For me, it's not about right or wrong. It's about how you perceive. Yes, you may see it wherever you are at that state of mind, wherever your heart capacity is. But having a certain type of perception, but the willingness and having the openness to allow that perception to change. It is only when you are caught in your perception that you suffer. She is like that, she'll never change, and this is why I have to act like that. You also with yourself, I am like this, I will never change, this is my habit, that's why I will continue to be like this, and I will never see happiness. It's because you don't allow yourself that openness for yourself, or you don't allow your perception to change. Because in fact, we know that everything is impermanence. Everything always changes, but we live as if it's always the same. So our perception about ourselves creates suffering because we don't have the openness to change. And our perception about other people creates suffering because we don't have that openness. We're caught in our perception. So it's not necessarily wrong. It's not necessarily wrong. It is because we don't allow it to change. And therefore we continue to create suffering for ourselves and for others. If there was an elephant in the room, and we're all blindfolded, and each and every one of us has a different part. We don't know that it's an elephant, right? Never seen one before. And then somebody holds its ear, and he said, "Oh, an elephant is like a fan," And somebody holds its trunk, said, "Oh, an elephant is like a water hose or a fire hose." And somebody touches his foot and it's like, "Oh, an elephant is a column, a pillar." And then somebody rubs his belly and said, "Oh, an elephant is like a boat." Everybody has their perception of it. And if they're caught in that, then we create these suffering from my view of that. But if I allow myself to be open, because I'm not wrong, I'm not 100% wrong when I say the elephant is like a water hose. But you are also not wrong. But if I allow that space inside of me and allow myself to see bigger or allow my perception to change and to grow, then I will suffer less. I wouldn't have to waste my time arguing with my sister and brother to say that, no, you're wrong. And to do everything that I can to justify that the elephant is a water hose. And then you lose the whole purpose and you allow all of these thoughts and this anger, this frustration to arise also. So it's not about just wrong perception. Because if we get into wrong perception, then we have this idea of what a right perception is having a perception, simple, mere recognition of what we see and allowing that to develop and to change, this openness inside of ourselves. And this perception is about ourselves and then about others, what we see. But we're caught in this idea that what we think is the absolute truth. And that's why we cannot change. When we have a pleasant feeling, we like it. We want to keep that pleasant feeling for as long as we can. We don't don't think anybody wants to throw away their pleasant feeling. They're feeling, having a cup of coffee in the morning, just like, yes, this is my moment. And you take, as a child, when your mother comes home from the market and gives you a cookie or something like that, you just sort of nibble at it bit by bit to just save it for as long as you can. You just take small bites so that you can prolong that happiness of having something sweet, that enjoyment of having a piece of a cookie or a cake. Or playing with your favorite doll or with your favorite bear or your favorite car, just making sure that you don't break it too soon because you want to. That's a source of happiness. So anything that we find pleasant with ourselves, we want to keep it longer. And by natural reaction, is anything that is unpleasant, we want to get rid of as soon as we can. And then we go into this whole, like, no, I don't want to do this. And we try to do so many things to get rid of this unpleasant feeling to make it become pleasant again. When we fall down with a bump and we're in this slump and we want to unslump ourselves. But how do you get rid of these unpleasant feelings? How do you get rid of these unpleasant feelings? Dr. Seuss says, we'll just go on. We'll just continue on to world unknown. Let's just take anger as an example. Maybe some of us don't want to get rid of our anger. Sometimes we don't want to get rid of our anger because it makes us feel that we have some sort of empowerment. You're so attached to that feeling that you're in control of something. It's not perfectly the best kind of control. There was one time, a couple of years, I would almost say 8 years ago, a group of sisters and I were, during our lazy days, we were having a bit of fun, being edgy and on the wild side. Nothing wild. Like in your sense, they'll be like, oh, that's nothing. So we were playing a game, charades. That's as wild as it gets in the monastery, okay? So with the game charades, and we have two teams, and we're supposed to tell. One team is supposed to tell the other, one member of the team to do something, so their team member can guess what we want them to do. So we had this particular sister, and basically both teams teamed up on that sister. It was sort of like a hint kind of thing. And so our team was asking her to be a cheerleader. And her teammates had to guess what she was doing. And so she was, because, you don't see monastics jumping around and throwing pom-poms and doing cartwheels all the time. And so it was hilarious. So we were just having the time of our lives. She was just jumping up and down, and we're like, jumping jacks? And then she tried to do a cartwheel, but couldn't do a cartwheel. And we're like, you're rolling in the dirt? And so it was a fun time. We were having so much fun. And it was a lazy afternoon, about 3 or 4 o'clock. So it was not too late or during the noontime break. And we were just all laughing because both teams were just really in on it. And this sister in particular was very well kept. She's very mild. So that was as wild as we can get her to be without knowing that we were playing with her. And so halfway, or not even halfway, we started laughing. I can admit that we were a bit loud. And one sister, she just yelled across the hall, across the room, across the building, from one building to the next. You guys are so loud. That's me downing it a bit, okay? And it just sort of put us in this place. And I'm like, what's your problem? I have an attitude. I'm sorry, but I do, I'm like, what's your problem? We're just having fun. There's nothing wrong. We're just laughing. There's no crime in that, is there? And she just said, you guys are so loud. And then, it doesn't justify it, but my younger sister is like, okay, let's just clean up and just put, just Let's just shut down the game. And so they started cleaning up. I'm like, but I don't understand why. At that moment, I was so angry. And I was just trying to figure out what was the problem. And I had a lot of anger, and I knew it. I had a lot of anger. And the younger sister was like, oh, just forget it, just forget it. How can you forget that? We weren't doing anything wrong. And they were just like, no, let's just clean up. So, like, oh, you don't have to clean up. Let us clean up. We'll wash all the stuff. You just take care of yourself. And, my younger sisters were reminding me of the practice. And I was just like, I lost it. And so they cleaned up. I went into the room and was like, how can you just accept that? Because I felt unjust. There was nothing that we were doing that was out of line. And the sister said, oh, well, just almost dinner time. Let's go eat. And so I went to eat dinner, of course. And then I know the practice of mindful eating. I know the practice of mindful walking. I mean, I have it memorized by heart. But applying it was so difficult because I was so in my head trying to figure out what went wrong. And so I was eating, and I was like, I still can't believe you guys just took it. I'm like, oh, this is a carrot. I still can't believe you guys just took it. Like, oh, this is pretty good. Oh, this is a bit salty. It's just so many things happening. And then she said, oh, just forget it. I was like, I can't believe you guys just took it. How can you not say anything? And then we have our evening activity. We did sitting meditation. Now you all know what's happening inside of my mind. And I had to get ready for bed. And I got ready for bed, and I was in bed and with my roommate. And I was like, I can't sleep. And then it was 9:30, and we wake up. This retreat is a blessing. We get to wake up 15 minutes later. You wake up normally at 5 o'clock every day. And I was lying there, just still thinking, because I want to figure out what was the problem. I continued to believe that the problem was the other sister. And I was like, okay, now Sister Kinh Nghiem, you got to go to sleep. You got to wake up at 5 tomorrow morning. And I tried. But that kept on coming up. What was her problem? And then I thought, okay, now let's do this. Let's practice breathing. Because, when I do sitting meditation and I breathe in and out, after 10 breaths, I'm knocked out. And so I'm like, okay, breathing in, my belly rises, breathing out, my belly falling. Trying to do total relaxation, deep relaxation. 5 minutes down, like, what was her problem? And then it continues on. And I look like, oh my goodness, it's 11:30. Okay, body scan, let's do that. And so I was lying there, and okay, this is the hair, the little short hair that I have on my head, and my eyebrows, and doing as I get down, what is our problem? Like, you have the knowledge of what you need to do. You're very brainy, but can you be footsie? Basically, apply it. No matter how I tried to convince myself that I knew the practice, I couldn't do it. I basically threw my practice out the window that night. And I kept tossing and turning, and I kept on believing that the anger was her. She was my problem. And I was trying to figure out a problem outside of me. Trying to figure out what was her problem. What was the deal? I look at my alarm clock again, and it's 1:30. And I'm telling myself, Kinh Nghiem, you're ridiculous. You're so ridiculous. And at that one moment, I realized something else was happening all at the same time. When I was trying to figure out and to find a solution for that problem, or what I thought was my problem from that sister, my body was having to hold everything. And at that moment, I realized that I was clenching onto my teeth. My hands were held in a tight fist. My shoulders were locked, and I was like, I thought my face was relaxed, but it was just stiff And my breathing was not really happening, very short and shallow. And at that moment, I didn't want to say, okay, this is what I need to force upon myself to relax my body. I had to think of another way. Because I've done it. I've done the relaxation, it didn't work. I've done the breathing, it didn't work. All of that didn't work. I'm not going to go walk at night. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, do walking meditation. It might scare somebody, or somebody might scare me. But so then I was lying there, and I put one hand, my right hand on my heart, and my left hand on my stomach. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for putting you through this. Putting my body through this. And then I started to cry. It wasn't tears of defeat. Like I felt that I have lost this fight that I was in. This fight with myself. I've lost that. Not with that sister. It was never about that sister. But being able to apologize to your physical body. I'm so sorry. So sorry for putting you through this. And at that very moment, I felt a sense of release as the tears started to fall. And I fell asleep without having to try or to impose the practice of relaxation on my body. And at that moment, I felt that my body has forgiven me because I took the opportunity to reflect upon my own body, to recognize what is happening, because so often we are caught on what is happening inside of here. We're trying to find a solution. We're trying to find a way out, and we forget ourselves. First of all, our physical body. And like Sister Dedication shared yesterday, when your body is happy and at peace, your mind will be happy and at peace. It will be easier if you are relaxed. And my body was not relaxed, even though I tried to intellectually impose the practice of breathing and smiling. It wasn't until I let go of that anger and realized, OMG, my body is telling me it can't sleep because of that. And I extracted my attention from that anger, took myself away from that anger, from that feeling, and just reflected upon that. And gave all of the love and care and compassion that my body deserves. And so this is one thing that I would like to offer of you, is that simple practice of being able to let go of your negative feelings and unpleasant feelings. The first step is to simply recognize, where in your body do you hold those feelings? On the physical body. And then to allow your body to calm down. And oftentimes, we are taught that when you have a lot of emotions, when there's a storm outside, the top of the trees are moving a lot. They're swaying in the wind. But the base of the tree is very solid. And to bring all of your thoughts away from your brain and to put your attention, if not on your abdomen, then you can put at least your heart. To bringing it down from here, not trying to figure something out, but to feeling something in your own body. So that is one of the practices that I do quite often. And even now, I still have an attitude. And I'm very aware of that, and how I hold it in my body. It's become more of a practice for me than trying to figure out a solution and trying to solve a problem when the problem is in myself. So the practice of mindfulness, mindful eating, mindful walking, mindful breathing, mindful smiling, they are there for us to help generate the capacity to stop and look deeply, to stop ourselves, from running away. We do things a little bit more slower here. We even speak slower than normal. You see the monastics just floating around with our robes, and sort of gracefully, We do things slower, not because that's mindfulness. That's not mindfulness. Being slow is not mindfulness. But slowing down helps generate the capacity to be mindful. Because you're not running away with your thoughts. So we do things a little bit slower, so that we give ourselves the opportunity to be mindful, to wake up. Because if you're constantly running after one thing, you don't have that space to be aware. And if you don't have that space to be aware, so then your neutral feelings won't have the chance to become happy feelings. And it's so easy for neutral feelings, to become an unpleasant feeling. Because it's just a domino effect. Oh yeah, this and then that and then that. But if you stop yourself, stopping your habit of how you respond and how you react to certain things, and you slow down just a little bit, then you have this chance for awareness or mindfulness to arise and to change that neutral feeling to a pleasant feeling. I have 8 minutes. We have in our Dharma discussion groups names, #something, as not to follow along with the trend. And you see it's a bit contradiction. There's, I think I'm in a group called concentration and distraction. There's a group called mindfulness and forgetfulness. I almost forgot. And this is just almost a reflection of pleasant feelings and unpleasant feelings. It's not a contradiction, but it's also, for me, is that they're an example of what is favorable and unfavorable for our practice of happiness, peace, and joy. And it's an invitation for us also to have this discussion, because one thing that Dr. Seuss says, you are alone and you will always be alone, but that doesn't seem to be the conditions here, that you're never alone. And here at this retreat, we have the opportunity to practice together as a community, a greater community, and as a smaller community in our own Dharma discussion groups and our group of friends. So it's an invitation for us to look deeply together and to support one another. So it may seem contradicting between concentration and distraction, mindfulness and forgetfulness. What does that have to do? But these things are real things that we can invite ourselves to support one another, because they are two sides of the same coin. Without distraction, you wouldn't know what concentration would be like, or vice versa. They have the same essence. So it's not trying to eliminate one in order to take another, but it's being able to live in harmony with both, and simply recognizing the unpleasant feelings, the unfavorable conditions versus the favorable conditions, and how to generate favorable conditions and pleasant conditions, pleasant feelings for yourself. When we come here, we have the opportunity to practice. And even if you just have a little bit of, just a small moment of tasting what the practice can do to you, of putting your footsteps 100%, putting your attention 100% in your footsteps, or in your breathing, or in your walking, or in your eating, and you're able to touch that joy, then you know that happiness and joy is possible. Peace is possible. And you're here, so you see it. You see the monastics, you see it, you like it, you want it, you got it. Right? I don't think the monastic knows where that comes from. except for me, right? You see it, you like it, you want it, you got it. And for however much you want it, is however much you will get it. So you don't need a black card. You don't need a black card. You see it, you want it. You get it. It depends on whether you want it 100%. Then you'll have it 100%. Thank you for being here with me and to share. And I hope you have a wonderful retreat.